Your mid-century kitchen needs better lighting. Let's fix that. Especially in a mid-century kitchen, you probably have both work surface and storage issues. But we should begin with lighting before we talk about the layout, before we talk about what it looks like, before we talk about more counter space or storage. Because if your kitchen doesn't have good lighting, you won't want to work there, or cook there, or drink a cup of coffee there. Even though it will be applied towards the end of the design process, it should be baked into your thinking from step one. If you're looking for general kitchen advice, check out this free resource, which is an easy guide to the 5 major design issues any mid-century kitchen has. And also, don't forget to sign up for the live mid-century design clinic I'm hosting on May 16th. It's going to be action-packed and full of great advice, all the techniques that I use when I design mid-century kitchen updates for my clients and teach inside my DIY homeowner design program, Ready to Remodel. Lighting is important to consider first and during every design process. There are 2 types of lighting you want to consider for a well-lit, for a wonderful kitchen. You want to have or create great daylight, because having to flip on a switch to create light in your kitchen when it's an otherwise bright and beautiful day outside is a drag. And you need clever artificial lighting, because sometimes it's cloudy outside and sometimes we work in our kitchens after dark. Ideally, you want an adjustable array of lighting that you can use in different configurations for different lighting situations throughout your day, week, and year. The lighting that you want to cook up a storm for a winter event after dark is different than the light you want when you shuffle into the kitchen for your first cup of coffee, or the evening lighting you might want when you're moving through the house just before bed, swiping down counters, and putting the house to sleep. These different activities require different lighting solutions that are as individual to you as they are important to get right. This is a personal choice, and no one's going to tell you the exact correct way to do it for your house. You're going to choose the correct combination for you. So let's start with daylight. Where is it coming from, and how can you get more of it in a mid-century kitchen? At a minimum, you probably have a kitchen window positioned over the sink. This is the mid-century classic. That's bringing in light from just one direction. Most American houses, and certainly most mid-century houses, are not cited for the most effective use of daylight or passive solar. They just face the street, and the kitchen is either oriented to the street or the backyard or the side yard, depending on the whim of the builder. So start by figuring out what direction your current kitchen window faces. You can probably identify without thinking further, without getting up and checking, whether you have morning or afternoon light, whether it feels bright or dim at certain parts of the day, and whether perhaps there are certain times of the day, for example, if your kitchen window faces west, when you have too much daylight coming into the space. In that case, you might want to think about some sort of deciduous tree or screen or shade device that protects you from the most harsh direct light. But in general, what we want in a mid-century kitchen is more daylight. So think about where you can add more windows, either taking down wall cabinets and increasing the number of windows along your primary exterior wall, or if you've got a corner condition, increasing not just the size of one window on one wall, but putting windows on multiple walls so you have daylight coming in from multiple directions at once. In some cases, a mid-century kitchen will have no windows facing the exterior, and this often happens when additions have happened over time, layering. First, there was a patio outside of the kitchen window, and then they turned that patio into a screen porch, then it was turned into a 3-season room or interior den space, and soon you've got a landlocked kitchen with no direct light in it. If the previous remodeler or remodelers were wise, they would have cut in a skylight at the time so you still have daylight. If they didn't, then you'll want to make sure that happens. Even if you have kitchen windows on 2 or even 3 walls with light coming from multiple directions, you will not be sorry to add in light from above. 1 or more skylights, or the more easy to install light tubes, particularly for east or west facing kitchens, which only get good daylight during half of the day. You can also borrow daylight from inside the house by opening up walls or creating window openings in interior walls between one side of the house and another. If you've got an east-facing kitchen and a great west-facing living or dining room on the opposite side of the house, creating a pass-through opening in a wall, removing doors from doorways, or opening up walls entirely have pros and cons. You may or may not like the open plan effect of that kind of space, but it might serve as a twofer, creating better social connections between your cooking and hanging out spaces and also sharing daylight between them. So think about opening up space inside your house as a win-win condition, as long as it's not creating a space that's too open for your personal taste. Humans thrive on daylight. Research has shown that people work more efficiently in well-lit office spaces, and you just know that you feel better when the sun is shining and you are near that sunshine. But no matter how well you optimize your kitchen for daylight, sometimes the sun is down, and then you're going to need artificial light. So let's talk about how that works and what kinds of artificial light you need specifically in a kitchen. I've talked about lighting solutions generally for mid-century houses here brighter, and some of what I discussed today is going to overlap that. So if you're looking for more general lighting advice in your house, check out this video as well. To paraphrase from it, there are two main types of artificial light: general lighting and task lighting. In a kitchen, general lighting is going to be your overhead light. It's also daylight. It's anything that just makes the entire space mostly brighter. Task lighting is directed light that serves a specific purpose or purposes. In an original builder grade mid-century kitchen, the general light looks like one central ceiling light, probably with 3 incandescent bulbs concealed by a milk glass cover. And task lighting is 2 fluorescent strip lights, one over the kitchen sink, usually just blocked from direct eye line by a little wooden valance, and one over the cooktop, probably in the place where you could or should have had a range hood, but they weren't generally installed during that era. Two things. That setup is not great. Fluorescent lights are horrible. They were mid-century lighting technology's best answer, but that doesn't mean they were a good answer. There's a reason why in a mid-century home, wherever you see fluorescent tube lighting, you'll often see it encased in an amber plastic cover in a basement or in a garage work situation, or you'll see it hidden behind some solid wood surface, so you're just getting the downlight into a bright white painted area. That's because looking directly at a fluorescent tube light is deeply unpleasant. They have a flicker. They also sound terrible. When I moved into my 1952 mostly unremodeled mid-century house, I basically worked only from the original central ceiling light and never turned on the 2 fluorescent tube lights for, I don't want to confess how long. Years. Much too late for my own sanity, I was wise enough to remove those 2 fluorescent strip lights and replace them with LED bar lights, which throw off a warmer color and never flicker or buzz. They're also dimmable. That's a great moment for me to mention that basically every light in your kitchen should be dimmable. There will always be a time when you want the lights to be turned down low, and yet at the same time you might want a bright light in the same location. Dimmers are the answer to that. Dimmable LEDs are your friend in the kitchen. The other light that might have been present in a mid-century kitchen was a wall-mounted pendant light on a swing arm or a ceiling pendant light that would have hung over the eat-in kitchen table. Those usually haven't made the jump. They were plug-in lights and they didn't survive multiple moves and family reinstallations. I actually have a former kitchen table light mounted on a swing arm in my bedroom as a general reading light and mood light. It's great. I set it up with new LED bulbs in a warm tone, and it was equipped with the mid-century's answer to a dimmer, which is the 3-click version that's 1, 2, and 3 for brightness. Actually, I think what it's doing is turning on 1, 2, or 3 bulbs. You know what? I'd have to take the cover off and have a look at that. So for general light in your kitchen, in addition to daylight, you can probably stick to that single central mounted ceiling light if it's still there, or replace that with down pendant lights that can serve as general lights, or any of the various array of task lights in your kitchen all turned on low can serve as general lighting. You don't need to worry too much about general light, and in particular, you do not need to add can lights to your mid-century updated kitchen to make it perform properly. Any modern contractor will certainly recommend that you do add an array of cans across your ceiling, but you simply do not need them. You can put specific lighting in all of the specific places where you will need it, and you can leave the cans right out. If your mid-century kitchen has already been remodeled with can lights, you don't need to tear them out and patch them over, although you could, but make sure they have warm bulbs in them and are on a dimmer, and also keep them off most of the time. Your kitchen is not a corporate office suite, and you really don't need that kind of bright, total, general light. You need more specific choices for your kitchen. Can lights are going to have the same problem that central mounted ceiling light has in a mid-century kitchen layout. For every counter that faces a wall rather than, say, an island that's in the center of the room, if you've got the work surface light behind you, it's going to cast a shadow of your head onto the exact place that you're working at nearly all times. This is just not an effective way to plan your doesn't work. So instead, what you want to do is cast light onto your various work surfaces or into your various storage areas. This is going to look like under cabinet lighting wherever you do still have upper cabinets. If you don't have upper cabinets because you have windows there or wall space, you can either drop a couple of pendants along the wall in front of the window that shine over the work surface, or you can mount a shallow shelf that holds spices or cups or easy to reach things and put an under shelf light in the same spot. Strips of LED light are really our friend here. We can fit in minimalist lighting in places that was just beyond the ken of mid-century designers, and we can make sure there's light shining down on nearly every work surface so we can see what we're chopping or just have a nice little gleam on the countertops when we're not in the space. In fact, turning on just the under cabinet lights on a low dimmer is a really nice way to leave the kitchen generally low lit when it's not in use. If you've got blank wall space that doesn't have shelves, windows, or upper cabinets, you might want to think about sconce lights. Sconces can be particularly fun when they wash the wall, again creating sort of a general brightness that can direct light down onto your work surface, and they're often a fun way to add a little bit of style in your lighting. Pendants and sconces that have playful shapes, good colors, or vintage motifs baked into them, or actual vintage pendants and sconces that have been rewired for modern electrics can be amazing choices to add a little bit of vintage authenticity to your kitchen. As you go through your kitchen design process, thinking about new work surfaces, storage areas, and social spaces in the kitchen, each one of those spaces should come with one or more lighting solutions to help it feel warm, cozy, and like a pleasant and effective place to spend your time. So if you're designing a floor-to-ceiling pantry unit that's going to have effective storage close to where you're working, you might want to think about what's known as a closet light that comes on when you open the doors. Every bit of work surface should have some downlight directly over it, whether that's shelf or under cabinet lighting, or it's a pendant or a ceiling or wall-mounted light that shines directly down on that space. You can also use lighting to define an effective ceiling height. If you live in a mid-century house that has higher than 8-foot ceilings, A, congratulations, how lucky for you, and B, you probably actually want to bring the evening light ceiling down lower, closer to our head height. Hanging a series of pendant lights that will cast a warm glow at about the 6-foot height range, not much higher than that, will help create a space that feels cozy and more human scale at night, even while it feels lofty and bright and airy in the daytime. Similarly, dropping a pendant even lower so that it creates just overhead light at your sitting height is a great idea for any table or built-in seating or bench area in a kitchen. When we're thinking of low general light, you might also run a strip of light around the baseboards, or if you've got wall-mounted kitchen cabinets underneath the base layer cabinets, to shine a little bit of light on the floor and create just the kind of space that you can work around without ever getting a glare in your eye. You can basically always use more lighting in your mid-century kitchen. You are never going to solve all your problems with one lighting solution, like cans, for instance. That's just not going to get the job done. Tuning the lighting to fit not just the specific layout and types of spaces in your kitchen, but the way you and your household use your kitchen through the day and night cycle is a really important part of personalizing your space and making it work best for you. So let's run down the list of questions you want to ask yourself to figure out how lighting is or isn't working in your kitchen and how it could work better. Before I get to that though, if you're feeling excited about making improvements to your mid-century kitchen, I hope you're signed up for the Mid-Century Kitchen Design Clinic. This is going to be such a fun live 2-hour workshop where I will walk you through my master plan process for planning a great remodel for a mid-century house, focused on kitchen spaces specifically. So we'll talk about the dream phase where you think about what's important to you and the way you and your household use your kitchen, the discovery phase where you get familiar with the realities of your house right now, how it's working, how it's not working, dimensions, lighting, the building code, and other necessary considerations. We'll set the style for a mid-century kitchen that makes your heart sing, and I'll share an array of design solutions from past projects, small kitchens and large ones, little tweaks and big transformations, so you can find something that seems similar to your own condition and get inspired. I'd love to have you at this remodel planning party and help you get excited about changes for your kitchen. So be sure to ask yourself about the natural light in your kitchen right now. Is there a time of day where it works beautifully? Are there changes you could make so that it works well at more different times of day? Once you've locked in the daylight, how can you supplement and substitute for daylight that's just not available at certain times or seasons? What are your daily routines in the kitchen and how could better lighting improve on them? As you move through the kitchen first thing in the morning, if you spend time in your kitchen during the course of the day, or how it feels to be in your kitchen as you return home, are light switches in the right place so that you can easily turn on the light as you enter from, let's be real, most mid-century kitchens have several different access points, many of them including directly from the garage with everything in your life, including all of the groceries. And don't forget how you feel in your kitchen as you're winding down at the end of the day. Do you have the right lighting situation for that? If you're thinking about a remodel right now, it is an absolute must to think about wiring better light to support all of those conditions. But even if you're not, there are a lot of improvements you can make today by substituting one light fixture for another, switching out bulbs, adding a dimmer, or putting in more lights. A plug-in pendant that shows its cord along the ceiling does not matter if it's going to create a better lighting solution over your table or counter. Have you taken advantage of the space underneath all your upper cabinets and shelves? You could choose a set of LED fairy lights with a battery pack, or let a cord dangle to a nearby plug-in and use an app on your phone to control a bunch of different under cabinet lights together. There are improvements you can make to your kitchen lighting this weekend if you're feeling excited about it. Find an outline of everything I've just talked about at this free Mid-Century Kitchen resource, and get so much more if you're able to show up live to the Mid-Century Kitchen Design Clinic happening May 16th. Pulling back to the larger kitchen context, now you've got a plan to improve the lighting in your mid-century kitchen. Great, but you still need more storage, more work surfaces, and more social spaces. That's exactly what I'm going to talk about in next week's video. See you there.